All right, let's talk about that test on Tuesday. Quick look at the different chapters. Chapter 5, of course, is looking at that pure competition. And again, if you pull up this Excel file that is in that chapter file folder in Blackboard, you can get an idea again how the different uh, fields are calculated. The total cost, average fixed cost, average variable cost. Again, just double click and take a look at these formulas. They're fairly straightforward. I can tell this is a purely competitive firm, of course, because that MR line, the marginal revenue, which is the demand line in a purely competitive firm, is this perfectly elastic, straight horizontal line. And of course, this firm I can see is making some economic profit, and just try to understand what that is and how you calculate that and how you calculate total cost. But quick look at the spreadsheet. Hopefully it can help you. And looking at the chapters, of course, in the textbook. So on to chapter 6, and again, it's talking about basically, the long run adjustment. Again, this is capitalism looking at with this purely competitive firm, and again, it's always going to be some agricultural thing like wheat. A firm is making economic profit, there's going to be then more firms coming into the field, because again, with purely competitive market, there is not big entries to barriers to entry. So that'll shift supply to the right. If people are making economic profit up here in the upper right, then it will come down here to the bottom left. Oops, excuse me, let me go back. Some more people coming into the market, that will bring the price down. And again, in the long run, marginal cost, marginal revenue, average total cost will all come together. Of course, that is normal profit. Take a look at the textbook. And again, with the textbook, if you're looking to review it, it never hurts to look at the learning objectives in the beginning of the chapters. That's what I'm going to be looking to myself for questions. Fine. So take a quick look. Again, this is the other day in class. I apologize if I'm being repetitive. Chapter 7, it's going to be the price searchers demand curve. That's going to be downward sloping because they get a choice of setting their price. And again, the price is the demand curve. And again, as we saw in, I think, chapter 2 in the textbook, it's a downward sloping. Higher price, not many people are going to buy things. And then you can figure out how marginal revenue is calculated here with this slide. Because again, I sell $1,000. $1,000 is a desk, I think, right? Only one person is going to want to get that, so the total revenue is 1 times 1,000. 2 at $9.50. If I lower the price, 2 people will buy it, and then that's the total revenue is $1,900. So the difference between 1 and 2, the marginal revenue is better be 900, right? 1,900 minus 1,000 is 900. It gives me that marginal revenue. So you can see why the marginal revenue line is lower than the price or the demand line. As we see right here, marginal revenue is on the left side where demand is on the right side. And again, where MR equals MC, I'm going to stop saying it because I'm sick of saying it. And again, in the short run, of course, there can be profits, economic profit, normal profit, or economic loss. In the long run, though, because again, in the long run, firms will come into the market. Again, don't forget this one, economies of scale, diseconomies of scale. Take a look in the textbook. In the long run, more firms will come in to a market if people are making economic profit. Here's chapter 8, and again, I got highlight some choices. And please remember what I went over the other day in class. This one here. In the long run, with monopolistic competition, if you're making profits, more people are going to come in. So understand this slide here. And then what? Chapter 9. This is the one that talks about externalities, right? Understand what an externality is. There's positive and negative externalities. Look at the textbook. Again, this is an example of, like I said, the government putting pollution controls on leaded gasoline, again, coal-fired plants. There's a whole host of things where basically government makes industry add to their costs by having making sure they have a clean environment. So that's going to be like an excise tax. It's going to shift supply to the left, less produced at a higher price. But again, hopefully it is good in the long run. As opposed to when the government subsidizes something. Again, the textbook talks about the government subsidizing a certain, inoculations for health reasons. They basically will make it cheap to buy a drug or an inoculation. So demand then shifts to the right. And again, there'll be more produced. It's a higher cost to society, but basically government will fund this one. But take a look at these externalities in Chapter 9. Fine. So if you have any questions, email me. Actually, also in Blackboard, I did put a folder in coursework for research paper links, and I'm going to keep putting links in here. Here's a link for that gender gap article that was in the BBC. Here's something on the environment that's out today in the New York Times. Income inequality. And I'm just going to keep putting in links into this folder for different things. Email me if you got any questions. I'm going to be around Monday. I will probably be in the Mass Center at the lunch hour on Monday. Email me to make an appointment. I think I'm available before class too. Tuesday, actually, I got to do professional development at a high school, so I'm not exactly sure my availability on Tuesday yet, but when I know, I will email the class. So thanks for your time. If something doesn't make sense to you, please send me an email.